March 20th, 1907, page 249. It seems impossible that the newspapers could sink any lower, but they have. The illustration horrifies me, as does the name they have been invented for Mary. They have taken her up as a sport. They toss around her name and her image like a tennis ball. There is nothing anyone can do to control them. What's worse, this article contains a good deal of fact. It turns out that the nurses on the islands have been assisting in Mary's case, acting as messengers to bring her feces to an independent laboratory in Manhattan. Apparently, this laboratory has not found typhoid. Several weeks of independent testing on Mary's samples have been done, and each has come out clean. I don't understand the methods they use. Mr. Soper says the samples must be old, or the laboratory must be bad. Who knows if they're even Mary's samples? On top of the insult of Mr. O'Neill taking us to court, Mr. Soper is doubly upset by his so-called proof that Mary's lawyer aims to present. We believe that the Boeing family is involved in retaining such bulldog of a lawyer, though they have managed to keep their name out of it. Instead of dragging the case through the court system, Mr. O'Neill has served the department with a writ of habeas corpus which allows a prisoner who feels he or she is unfairly imprisoned court time with a judge. Without a jury, a judge alone will decide Mary's case. He can do this in one day hearing if he wants. And if he decides that the department is wrong to have captured her, he can free her immediately. In our defense, scientists are gathering evidence for the phenomenon of a healthy carrier. They have simplified Dr. Koch's seminal text on his initial discovery of the first German who spread typhoid unknowingly through his feces. They're also translating Dr. Mechanikov's work on white blood cells and immunity and Dr. Pasteur's study of the life of bacteria inside the human body. I've spent the past few days retyping the first of 3 papers, which has been an education in itself. I hope a judge will not be swayed by Mr. Boeing's influence at the mayor's office, but rather that he will take the time to read the important papers and understand our position. Our attorneys are discussing the legal rights of the department in which the law is stronger, a person's right to freedom or the public's right to a healthy, protected community. There is a law, Section 1170, that states that the Board of Health and Sanitation of the City of New York may remove from the public arena any person sick or any contagious, pestilential, or infectious disease. I think pestilential is one of your words, too. It is. That's another vocabulary word. You don't want to miss it. It seems clear that one of the questions stumps these smart men. Can Mary legally be defined as a person sick with an infectious disease? For the next weeks, until the trial, I fear we will be on pins and needles. There's been an outbreak of typhoid in Riverdale, which Mr. Soper suspects may be caused by another healthy carrier like Mary. If we can uncover another example, perhaps that will strengthen our case. It makes sense to me that Mary is not an exception, but rather part of a larger, invisible problem that must be addressed. As an experiment, Mr. Soper asked the science fellows to test several people in the department who have survived typhoid fever. We have discovered that they do not carry the typhoid germ, so it proves that not everyone who has had the fever automatically falls into the category of healthy carrier. Mr. Soper says that he thinks that most people survive the fever without continuing to produce the germ. Indeed, we have not found another like Mary. Do they exist? And if so, we must test every single survivor in order to find out whether they carry the germ. Tomorrow we are to travel to Riverdale to begin investigating the new typhoid outbreak. I'm anxious to discover the reason for this epidemic, and it seems similar in some respects to the Thompson case, with clusters of people falling ill as if from a tainted source rather than a contagion. After reading about Dr. Pasteur's work, a strange thing now happens to me when I travel with crowds of people in public, streetcar, or an omnibus. I see them as a myriad of undetected illness. Myriad's another one of your words, I believe. Sickness we just don't know yet, ones we can't yet diagnose. My eye picks out the weaker looking ones, and I see the bacteria as varied and crowded as a metropolis living within them. I see my future work in these people.